I have determined that it is in our vital national interest to send an additional 30,000 U.S. troops to Afghanistan. After 18 months, our troops will begin to come home. It must be clear that Afghans will have to take responsibility for their security, and that America has no interest in fighting an endless war in Afghanistan.
Welcome back to the special edition of the Ed Show tonight here on MSNBC. Mixed reaction to the president's speech at West Point tonight. A lot of progressives are not convinced, and many Americans have had enough of sending our soldiers and our tax dollars to war. Joining me now is New York Congressman Eric Massa. Congressman Massa sits on the Armed Services and Homeland Security committees and has been adamantly opposed to any additional buildup of troops in Afghanistan. Congressman, did the president say anything tonight that might warm you up to what he's trying to accomplish?
No. And I'd have to ask a question. Why 30,000 troops and not 40? Why 30,000 troops and not 20? Why 18 months and not 16 or 24? These are artificial timelines and numbers that have no true military significance as planners sit down and develop what's called troop-to-task requirements. There is nothing that I heard tonight that would convince me that we are embarking on a strategic mission that is both vital and necessary. We invaded Afghanistan with less than 1,000 Special Forces personnel and killed or captured over 98% of all the terrorists that we could identify. And now, with the remaining few, less than 100 according to the National Security Advisor, we're going to deploy an army of 100,000 to rebuild a nation? The president says, as one of his major points, we are going to act as a partnership with the Afghan government, and yet we all know, anyone who has studied it, anyone who has his eyes and ears open, that that government is corrupt beyond malice. I think, and I hold strong objection to sending American soldiers into harm's way in combat to prop up a government that is more corrupt than Tony Soprano and his lieutenants. And so, no, I heard nothing tonight that would sway me against my absolute objection to what I consider to be a fool's errand.
Congressman, we all know that President Obama is a deep thinker, and he gives great analysis to everything he does, and he listened to all sides, and he made it very clear tonight that there was no plan presented in front of him that called for any kind of a troop increase in 2009. It's all in 2010. He went after his critics on that point tonight. But why shouldn't the president be given an opportunity to fix this? He didn't create this. He inherited this. And his generals have now come to him with plans that could stabilize the country. Shouldn't the Progressive Caucus give him the benefit of the doubt and let him make his mistake on this, if it is one?
Ed, no, because we're dealing with a mistake that deals with the lives of soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. And so, no, the answer to that is very clear, in my opinion. My life's experience, 24 years in the United States military, is yelling at me, telling me that it is impossible to build a nation where there is fundamentally no Afghan identity. We hear over and over and over again from Afghan nationals that they're going to be there with whoever is there with them. We cannot stay forever, and I think it objectionable and wrong to send Americans to fight and die for that which the Afghan people will not fight and die for. You just saw a series of interviews. Able-bodied military-age males. Why are they not in uniform? Why are they not standing and fighting for their own freedoms? And why do they expect us and our men and women in uniform to do it for them? This is not an issue about politics. It's not about an issue about standing with a president, one president or the other. It's about deploying 5, 6, 7 times American military personnel to do what is militarily impossible. And I think that we must raise our voices not as liberals or progressives or conservatives or Republicans or Democrats, but as thinking, common sense Americans who have seen this movie before, and we know how it is going to end.
Tonight on this program, we have had the two most experienced military personnel elected to Congress, and that is you and Joe Sestak, and you're on opposite sides of the coin here on exactly what the president should do. Now, with that, let's look at what Bernie Sanders had to say tonight, the independent senator from Vermont. He says, while in the midst of a severe recession with 17% of our people unemployed or underemployed and 1 out of every 4 kids on food stamps, we're going to be spending $100 billion a year in Afghanistan, where we have so many pressing needs at home. Do you think that's where the American people are tonight, the populist view of this?
I think it certainly is a view that's worth understanding. The president has said that we're going to operate in partnership with the Afghan government. Then we hear behind the scenes that we're talking about bypassing Kabul and the corrupt Karzai regime and going directly to inject money into the villages and towns in the countryside. We can't get money injected into the villages and towns and cities back in my home district to get people back to work. Why are we worried about building an infrastructure in a country that neither wants one or will do one for themselves?
Because the president said tonight that our security is at stake. You don't believe that?
I disagree with that analysis. If our security is at stake to the extent that we must rebuild a nation because there are 100 terrorists in Afghanistan, then we better be willing to occupy every single nation on the face of this planet and do the same. Our mission is to identify, locate, kill, or capture with malice of forethought any terrorist anywhere. That does not call for a standing army of 100,000 people executing an occupational strategy in a foreign nation. We have tried this over and over and over again, and it has never once worked. You cannot achieve this militarily, period.
Congressman, I appreciate your honesty, and I know our audience does tonight as well. Congressman Massa from New York.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. For more, let's bring in our panel tonight.